The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus said to his disciples, "Whoever wishes to come after me must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever wishes to save his life will lose it. But whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. What profit would there be for one to gain the whole world and forfeit his life? Or what can one give in exchange for his life? For the Son of Man will come with his angels in his Father's glory, and then he will repay each one according to his conduct." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Father Moreau wrote a great deal. Tracts, teacher's guides, articles, homilies, much of which has never been translated into English, and that we are still mining for new thoughts that we had never heard before. But he never really wrote a book. He would never have gotten tenure at Notre Dame. He did not present all of these ideas in a coherent form so that for all these many years that we have been pursuing the cause of Father Moreau's sanctity, we have had to go hunting for pearls, finding snippets of his wisdom, of his sanctity, of his spirituality, in all of these different forms, translated and untranslated. And there is one such pearl that is directly relevant to today's gospel: picking up our cross and following Jesus. In 1845, during another time of trial, and when wasn't there a time of trial in Father Moreau's life? When he was besieged by creditors and attacked by opponents, when plans for a school that he was building were being thwarted by enemies, he wrote to his community, far from complaining of these trials, "We must learn to love them, for if we bear them, they are worth their weight in gold." With thoughts like that, it is not too difficult to understand why most religious communities eventually find their own founders to be insufferable, to be too difficult to bear, to continually be calling them to a higher standard than human beings can possibly handle. And we were no exception. After a little more than 25 years, the family of Holy Cross essentially tossed out its own founder for calling them to aspire to the ideal of perfection and to bear their crosses as if they were made of gold. Those crosses are pesky things in our lives. We like to wear them. We give them as gifts. We kneel before them. We hang them on our walls. We have no problem adorning ourselves and our homes and our schools with crosses. But bearing them, who wishes to do that? And loving those crosses, simply inconceivable. But what does that cross represent? Are we really being asked to carry a first century heavy pile of wood put on someone's back? Is that the form in which the cross came to us? It isn't the tangible cross that is most important. It is the realization that what Jesus did by putting that cross on his shoulders is to bear the weight of all of our sins because he loved us. It was not the wood of the cross that was painful as much as our sins. When he was carrying that cross, he was carrying us. It represents the depth of God's love for the world and Christ's love for each of us. Another thing that Father Moreau wrote in one of his spiritual works was that this phrase that Jesus Christ speaks using my mouth, prays through my lips, and acts through my body. Well, sometimes he does, and sometimes he doesn't speak through us and act through our mouths because we are not acting like him, and we are being crosses to one another. His whole spirituality, personal spirituality, was based upon this concept of imitating Christ. He borrowed from numerous French spiritual writers. He borrowed from Thomas à Kempis' famous work. It is what we are all called to do. But yet, how often are we crosses for one another? Think about it. Sometimes there are crosses such as illness and certainly death that we all come to. Maybe poverty for some. But as was the case with Father Moreau, it is all too often that the cross comes to us in the form of the people who are right around us. And sometimes, as he discovered with his own religious community, sometimes the people who cause us the most pain, the most anxiety, and are the greatest burdens are those family and friends whom we love the most. That is the form in which the cross comes to us, day in and day out. Sometimes we find those people whom we say that we love with the love of Christ to be almost insufferable, too much to bear. And yet, what choice do we have, even when we experience them in that way, to see Christ in them, to bear those burdens, and to dare to love them as Christ loved each of us?